Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news, the Prime Minister's middle finger sparks national outrage. The F&M leader says the Prime Minister is no longer fit to lead.
Ministers defend the Prime Minister's actions. That story is coming up straight ahead.
Former Deputy Prime Minister MCNEIL makes a major announcement on his return to frontline politics. That story straight ahead.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm KRISTINA McNeil. Topping news tonight. By now, you've probably heard about Prime Minister Perry Christie's controversial hand gesture, which lit up social media overnight and inspired countless memes. While speaking at the Progressive Liberal Party's outdoor branch meeting, Christie flashed his middle finger in response to what he called a distorted claim. We warn you, this report contains graphic content. Here's Kyle Joaquin.
Some cheered, some clapped, and some were just in utter shock as Prime Minister Christie suddenly shot his middle finger in the air last night in response to a Facebook post.
On account of a lunatic who was saying I should deny I own this condominium. That's what I tell him.
It was one of the highlights of Christie's speech to a crowd of PLP supporters from the Fox Hill, Marathon, and St. Anne's constituencies. The Prime Minister used the opportunity to hit out at critics of his administration, in particular, Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis. Christie told the crowd of PLP supporters that come election day, the decision shouldn't be that hard. He said especially when it comes to the topic of leadership, the Bahamians really have only one choice.
Who do you think, if Minnis landed in London or New York or Rome, and they put the microphone in front of him and say, what do you think about this issue in the Bahamas? Do you think he's going to be able to explain? Now look here, this is serious, you know. See, they are able to say what they like about me. Wherever I land in the world, CNN or you have to be able to represent your country.
Christie also pointed out that Minnis was ousted as opposition leader by his own parliamentary colleagues. But with the general election looming, he made this plea.
Even if you are disappointed, even if you feel that more could have been done by your government and or your member of parliament, I want you to talk to us about it. Have us talk back to you, whether a member of parliament, whether me, whether any one of us.
His call was similar to that of Deputy Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis, who said the Christie administration understands it may not have lived up to the expectations of some of its supporters.
But please, those of you who may not have gotten what you think you ought to gotten, if you feel that your aspirations have not been fulfilled, your expectations not met, don't give up on us, because it's too risky.
Davis also responded to reports that the PLP is in a fiasco over its nominations in the St. Barnabas and Freetown constituencies.
Because I don't need any of you to allow the energy that you have garnered here tonight to be sapped by the fear that there's some trouble out there for the PLP. We are not in trouble. We are not in trouble. We are not in trouble because we recognize that a great work we have done.
Reporting for our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, the Prime Minister has become unhinged and extremely unstable, according to Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis. During a press conference at party headquarters this afternoon, Minnis said he was both shocked and horrified to see the country's leader wave his middle finger before a crowd of Bahamians.
His behavior is that of someone who has become unhinged and extremely unstable. And our country needs strong moral leadership.
Minnis says the Prime Minister should know that no matter where he is, he represents the country, and his foul gesture has no place in the public domain, especially at a time when the country is faced with rising crime.
I, along with all right-thinking Bahamian was shocked and horrified by the public embarrassment displayed by our Prime Minister. This behavior, to my knowledge, is the first and hopefully the last time a sitting Prime Minister of our God-fearing nation publicly cursed at the Bahamians by using such profane gestures. The Prime Minister has set a bad example for our children and the young people of this nation, especially at a time when we are riddled with so many social unrest and crime.
The F&M leader says the country's international reputation is at stake and has been on the line throughout the PLP administration's reign. But now, Minnis says, is the time for the Prime Minister to do the right thing, apologize, and demit office.
I call on the Prime Minister to do the honorable thing and resign. And in the absence of doing this, he should call an immediate election so that we, the Bahamian people, can fire him and his entire PLP.
Minnis encouraged Bahamians to register to vote as soon as possible while the pressure is on Christie. Well, members of the Christie cabinet defended their leader today, insisting Christie was pushed to the point by people who have consistently launched personal attacks on the Prime Minister and his family. GIORGIO BAIN reports.
Ministers run to the defense of the nation's chief after the flip of a finger gathers heavy criticism from the Bahamian public. Agriculture Minister V. Alfred Gray was passionate about the pain he says Prime Minister Perry Christie has endured during his time in frontline politics. Gray insisted that the consistent personal attacks on Christie pushed the country's leader to make such a controversial hand gesture last night.
And being Prime Minister does not make him less human. And when you attack my wife, my children, and in this case his challenged son, that is enough. I think God gets angry at things like that. And so I think enough is enough. And I believe the Prime Minister's reaction was strong, and I hope they get it. He has had enough. If you want to criticize his government, do that. If you want to criticize his methods of government, do that. But I will say to you today, when you mess with my wife and my children, that's a different paradigm.
Minister of Education Jerome Fitzgerald says Bahamians are focused on the wrong thing, asserting that it is not what Christie did, but what pushed him to that point. Fitzgerald added that for a man like Christie to resort to those actions, people must decide where they draw the line.
The outcry really, seems to be focused on the Prime Minister's response, but really, there should have been outcry long before this with regard to the level of stuff that's levied against him and his family and also in public life that we accept, but also, once you go against people's families, I think you've just clearly crossed the line.
Gray says he doesn't know any human being that could withstand the attacks that Christie has.
Only Jesus could take perhaps as much as he has taken. And people got to be reasonable. In this election campaign, I see a lot of vicious people rising up, people who are getting very personal. There's no need for all of that, because anybody could get personal. Anybody could cuss you under your clothes. But does that make it right? It doesn't.
Fitzgerald agreed, noting that such scandalous remarks have even made their way into the House of Assembly, forcing the Speaker to address these matters on several occasions. However, Gray and Fitzgerald also admitted that those interested in seeking public office must have tough skin.
At some point, we're going to have to really have a serious discussion in this country about how far we really go when it comes to persons who are in public life, when you start attacking and making fun, singing songs, telling lies on social media about our family members. And that's really, to me, where the line should be drawn.
But when you cross that line and get into my house, you can have a problem. And I wish, anyway, I'll leave it there.
Reporting for our news, I'm GIORGIO BAIN.
Thanks, GIORGIO. Bahamians also sounded off on this controversy. Stay tuned for the results of the R News poll. In other news, nearly 5 years after retiring from frontline politics, former Deputy Prime Minister Brent Simonet says he's making a comeback. MCNEIL announced today that he is seeking a nomination from the Free National Movement to run in the next general election in the St. Anne's constituency. Jasmine Brown tells us more.
The former Deputy Prime Minister announced in his office today that he will be returning from retirement as he's seeking to become the Free National Movement's next candidate for the St. Anne's constituency.
I have informed the leader of the FNM, Dr. Hubert Minnis, that he can put my name forward as the candidate for the St. Anne's constituency in the next election.
MCNEIL, who represented the St. Anne's constituency before retiring in 2012, says he has considered a return to frontline politics for some time now. Ahead of the 2012 general election, MCNEIL announced he would not be seeking re-election, but vowed to return if the country was ever in trouble. Well, he says that's exactly what led to his decision.
That if the Progressive Liberal Party continued to mess up this country anymore, I would have to change my mind. And I think we've reached that point. The financial state of this country is in dire needs. You reported yesterday the central bank, the national debt is at an unprecedented high level. Crime is out of control. Unemployment supposedly down, which is no one really believes. And we are in an economic tailspin.
MCNEIL openly supported Loretta Butler Turner at the party's national convention last summer, but today he said that's in the past as he is fully prepared to do what is best for the party.
The Prime Minister said it is risky to vote for Minnis. It would be catastrophic to vote for Perry Christie because he has a track record of 5 years in which this country has gone from worse to junk bonds, and you can choose any headline you want to. The country is spiraling out of control.
The former deputy leader of the Free National Movement says there are no strings attached to his application as he refuted claims he was seeking cabinet post.
Facebook and all those other things have been saying that I've had I'm in negotiations with regard to a certain post or a certain position. That is absolutely not true. There are no strings attached to my running in the next election. I do so as a candidate for the Team FNM.
The former St. Anne's MP says despite reports to the contrary, his wife and family are behind him 100%. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
And as the FNM prepares to ratify its remaining candidates, the Progressive Liberal Party took its election campaign to Fox Hill, where the party held a joint outdoor branch meeting last night for the Fox Hill, Marathon, and St. Anne's constituencies. Fox Hill MP Fred Mitchell told supporters not to be fooled by other candidates who pretend to care about their well-being.
Suddenly, brothers and sisters, everyone is showing up at church services and community events. 6 months ago, when I was sitting in St. Paul, St. Mark's, and Mount Carey, I was sitting by myself. Now, everyone's sitting on the bench. The bench is so crowded, you're getting blinded by the colors. Red over here, green over there, purple over there. Boy, I tell you.
We get straight through with the PLP.
So now, they're pretending to be your friends. All I'm saying is I hope in the political realm, you know that you have only one true friend, and I hope you know that that friend is Fred Mitchell.
While listing his accomplishments in the Marathon constituency, incumbent Jerome FITZGERALD also took a swing at FNM candidate for Freetown, Dionisio D'Aguilar.
Mr. D'Aguilar and his colleagues do not believe that ordinary Bahamians deserve government assistance. He calls it being dependent. Imagine that. He doesn't mind you spending all your money at his establishments, but your tax dollars should not be spent on you. Now that is the height of hypocrisy.
Meantime, PLP candidate for St. Anne's, Dr. Charles Arthur Clark, defended the government's NHI plan despite criticizing the proposed scheme in the past.
We need to invest in keeping our society healthier. PLPs. So this government is prepared to open up the doors of private facilities and upgrade the public facilities so that you can get your matter resolved as expeditiously as possible.
Still to come on our news, the PLP chairman says there is a real possibility Frank Smith may secure the Freetown nomination. Plus, why the F&M candidate for Freetown says a war is brewing in the PLP. That's coming up when our news returns.